Can you imagine going on a single trip that was so profound it ended up changing how we understand, well, life itself? That's not some work of fiction. That is the true story of Charles Darwin, a man whose journey kicked off a revolution in thought and totally redefined our place in the natural world.
You know, the best place to start is with a man's own words. Writing way back in 1859, Darwin remembered the exact moment his whole intellectual quest began. It was a deep dive into what he called the mystery of mysteries, where species actually come from. This one quote, right here, it just perfectly sets the stage for a story about observation, curiosity, and an idea that honestly would change everything.
So, our story begins on that very voyage. For 5 whole years, Darwin wasn't trying to be a revolutionary. He was just a naturalist, a collector, an observer. But what he saw out there, it planted this tiny seed of doubt about everything he, and pretty much the entire world, thought they knew about life. Okay, let's just walk through this timeline. It's 1831, and a young Charles Darwin gets on this ship, the HMS Beagle. While he's in South America, he digs up these fossils of giant sloths and armadillos. And the weird thing is they look a lot like the much smaller versions that are still running around. Then he gets to the Galapagos Islands, and he finds tortoises with differently shaped shells and finches with totally distinct beaks, each one perfectly suited to its own little island. So when he gets back to England in 1836, he doesn't have an answer. He has a boatload of specimens and one heck of a puzzle. This right here, these are the questions that must have been keeping him up at night. I mean, if everything was created perfectly, why would you need slightly different finches on islands you could practically swim between? And why would fossils look like jumbo-sized versions of animals living in the exact same spot? The old answers just weren't cutting it anymore. And this wasn't a quick aha moment. For more than 20 years back in England, Darwin just wrestled with these questions. His search for an answer led him to this revolutionary mechanism, a process that could explain it all, what he called the great struggle for life. And this is the absolute core of his idea, natural selection. It's actually a really elegant and powerful concept. Basically, in any group of living things, the individuals that have traits better suited for their environment are more likely to survive, have kids, and pass those winning traits on. Over a long, long time, nature is effectively selecting for success. Now, what's cool is how you can break this whole process down. It all starts with variation. Yep, just tiny differences between individuals. Think no two of us are exactly alike. Next, those variations can be inherited, passed down from parent to child. But, and this is key, more are born than can possibly survive, so there's always competition. This leads to that final famous step, survival of the fittest, where the individuals best suited for the fight, well, they win. And over huge stretches of time, this simple little loop can create entirely new species. Darwin himself used a great example to explain it. He said, okay, picture a pack of wolves hunting deer. If the deer over generations get a little bit faster, which wolves are going to eat and survive to have pups? Well, obviously, the swiftest and slimmest ones. They are preserved or selected by nature, the same way a farmer might select the biggest pig. And this is where Darwin got really clever. He made this brilliant comparison to something everybody in his day already understood: artificial selection. He argued that just like humans breed pigeons for fancy feathers or horses for speed, nature does the exact same thing. It's just that the breeder isn't a person, it's the environment itself. The goal isn't a prize-winning pigeon, it's just survival. And it happens not over years, but over thousands and thousands of generations. But, having an idea that could turn the world on its head is one thing. Actually telling everyone about it, that's a whole different ballgame. Darwin was a really cautious guy, and he knew his theory would cause a massive uproar. So that led to this long, quiet period of him just gathering mountains of evidence before he finally went public. This timeline really shows you his patience, or maybe his nervousness. He starts his notebooks way back in 1837. By 1844, he has a full draft of his theory, and he just puts it in a drawer. He waits and refines it for another 14 years. It was only when another naturalist, a guy named Alfred Russel Wallace, sends him a letter with the exact same idea that Darwin was finally like, okay, I gotta do this, and published On the Origin of Species the very next year. And the impact was immediate. It was insane. This was not some dusty, boring academic book that nobody read. It literally sold out on its very first day. The world was clearly starving for a new story about where we all came from. So, what was so shocking about it? Well, the book's power was in these four earth-shattering arguments. 1. All life is in a constant struggle to exist. 2. Species aren't permanent. They change over enormous stretches of time. 3. Natural selection is the engine that drives that change. And 4. The real bombshell. All life, every plant, every animal, you, me, we all share a common ancestor. And you might be thinking, okay, that was a long time ago. But here's the thing. This isn't just history. The ideas Darwin spent decades piecing together aren't some footnote. They are the absolute bedrock of modern biology. Darwin used this really powerful and honestly beautiful metaphor to explain it all. The tree of life. He pictured all of life branching out from one common trunk. Some branches die off and become extinct, while others just keep growing and diversifying into the incredible complexity we see all around us today. It's a stunning way to picture our shared history. And his work echoes absolutely everywhere today. It's the foundation of biology, it's the whole framework for understanding genetics. It is essential in medicine. It helps us fight evolving viruses and antibiotic-resistant bacteria. It's what gives meaning to the fossil record for paleontologists. And maybe most profoundly, it completely redefined our place in the universe. Let that sink in for a second. This is the ultimate takeaway from Darwin's Tree of Life. That little bacterium, the blue whale in the ocean, the pigeon on the sidewalk, they are all, quite literally, your distant cousins. We all share a common ancestor, deep in the past. In the end, Darwin's greatest lesson is that nothing in nature is permanent. Life is a story of constant, unending change. And if that's the story of all life that came before us, what does that mean for the next chapter, the one that we're living in right now?